Hello, contrarian capitalists. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to this live video. Apologies, I've not done one for a couple of weeks. The purpose of this video is to have a look through what's going on in terms of the latest news around the world, and also do the usual bit of housekeeping and things like that. First of all, I had a couple of people reach out to me and ask if everything was okay with my face. You could probably see red marks here and red marks there. Yes, everything's fine. I'm not dying. I do suffer from psoriasis and rosacea, and that has progressively got worse here and has now started to spread up to this part of my face. So that's the reason why my skin sometimes does look bad. I'm going to undertake a bunch of tests here in Mexico in order to figure out what exactly is wrong there and how I can improve that situation. But thank you to those people that did reach out on email and DM asking if everything was okay with that. Personal news aside, plenty going on. I'm just looking at the markets again, recording this just after 5:30 Eastern time. We're 3:30 in Mexico on Wednesday, the 16th of July. First of all, just looking at the major indices, the S&P is 4 points up on the week, so not a lot of change there. Nasdaq up 127 points on the week, so it's up 0.5%. Looking at the Dow Jones is actually down by 116 points on the week, so in effect, not a lot going on there. Looking at commodities, WTI, that's down by a couple of dollars, trading at about 66.50. Gold about 3,350. It is still in that consolidating range at the moment, which is, I think, very healthy. And silver, I've urged caution about silver before. In fact, I've done that a couple of times already this week. It's trading at about 37.87 at present. That's the futures market, I should point out. We did see on Monday morning, that it breached the $39 mark. And that was its highest level it's been for about 14 years. And that was generating a lot of excitement throughout the silver community, and understandably so. What I would say on all of that is that we have to be careful with silver. If you ask me and say, Rob, where do you think silver's going to go moving forwards? I will say to you, triple digits, absolutely fine. I do think that's going to happen. But is it going to go from 37.87 to triple digits by the end of the year? Highly unlikely. What is likely to happen is it will go up. It wouldn't surprise me to see it double in price, maybe hit $75. That could happen by the end of the year. And then if we do have this bigger and broader sell-off, which a couple of people out there are indicating could happen, then gold and silver will sell off. They would go down quite significantly in price. And I think that would then be the opportunity where I would, as I say, load up the truck, because that will be the last great buying opportunity. Obviously, don't take that as financial advice. They're just my thoughts. But at 37.87, silver is in a very good position. But the information is still the same, that if you're trying to trade the silver market, just be very careful. Don't get caught up in the hype. If you are in the physical silver market, then like myself, you're probably not paying too much attention to the price in the short to medium run. If it goes to $45, great. If it goes to $25, not ideal. But from a physical positioning point of view, it is what it is. Similar to gold as well. If I look at the gold chart, and I'm just going to bring that chart up, the last 10 weeks, we've seen the range bound between $3,500 and $3,120. So a 380 range in the last 10 weeks. Gold is doing what gold should be doing. It's holding firm. June and July seasonally aren't great months for gold anyway. And in a bull market, which we're in for gold, this is very bullish behavior, and having a consolidation period is also very good. It's very healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised to see gold shoot up to call it $4,000 for argument's sake. That would not surprise me at all. Going back on oil, and I'll put a link to the recent podcast in the show notes that come with this video afterwards. I'll put a link in there because the video or the podcast done with Alyosha or JJ, John Johnston, if you've not gone to watch that, I recommend that you would. It is now available for all subscribers. And the reason for that is that we spoke in depth about oil. What JJ pointed out was that what OPEC would likely do is to increase production. That would have an impact on prices, i.e., it's likely to send prices down. There were no specific targets given, these were just generic themes. And the reason for that is that they are probably going to want to get rid of the smaller players in the oil market. So by doing that, again, you could do that by lowering prices. So the bigger players can do that. Bigger players lower the prices. They put pressure on the price. Smaller players in the market are flushed out. And then as part of inflation reigniting, which is likely to do, that's going to send prices going much higher moving forward. So that's his thesis on oil. I believe that Dr. Anis Al-Haji has expressed potentially similar things happening. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I know from previous conversations and listening to him on other podcasts, he believes something similar is likely to happen. Of course, none of these change the overall bigger picture. I've been saying for a while that I think we're going to have blow-off tops in the S&P 500, NASDAQ, Dow Jones, etc. It wouldn't surprise me if that impacts gold and silver. So the prices of gold and silver go down for a little bit. Because ultimately, when push comes to shove and all of these financial issues and challenges rear their ugly heads, not just in the USA, back home in the UK as well, when all of these things start to unravel, then the thing that banks and governments and so forth are going to want to do is they are going to want to print. And when they print, that's going to be stimulus on steroids, to be honest. Once that happens, it's the amount of stimulus is probably going to be worse than 2008, or it's going to be higher than 2008, certainly going to be higher than it was in 2020, 2021. And as we've said before on the channel, it takes 18 to 24 months for that to work through the financial system. So there might not be a shock straight away, but moving forwards, that is very likely going to create a lot of issues. And therefore, as we say on the channel, that you have to protect yourself. And if you understand what's happened before and you understand what's likely to happen moving forwards, so again, studying history and watching channels and videos like this, then you would have an idea that the way to protect yourself, very likely moving forward, is going to be physical gold, is going to be physical silver. Again, please don't take any of that as a financial recommendation. I'm just doing this for educational purposes only. I have to get that claim in just in case. This is why I say physical gold, physical silver. Platinum as well. Again, platinum is on the move, it's on the march. Again, that can still be a very useful place to be. Bitcoin as well. I'm still researching Bitcoin. I know the Peruvian bull, aka Roberto Rios, was on the show last week. He spoke in length about Bitcoin and its proponents and its qualities that it has. So again, if you are a Bitcoin maximist or a Bitcoin enthusiast, you could probably add Bitcoin to that list as well. But I'm still searching and researching Bitcoin myself. This is why I don't say it too much. I know a lot more about gold, a lot more about silver, and a lot more about platinum. Other things you could do, if you have the ability to do so, is Plan B. Plan B could be, again, physical metals. Plan B could be moving country. Plan B could be setting yourself up so you're tax efficient. So that doesn't have to involve moving country, but it might mean moving assets offshore and things like that. And the reason I say that is because more and more people are becoming disillusioned with what their governments are doing. An example I'll bring you from very recently from the UK is that someone from the Ministry of Defence leaked that the UK government has supposedly spent 450 million on secretly rehoming or rehousing Afghan migrants. They also suggest that the government are going to spend another 450 million on continuing to do so. So that's 900 million pounds in total. Now, the UK debt is about 2.7 trillion. So, is 900 million a big deal? Well, you could argue yes and you can argue no. The point being that if we are going to try and get any form of spending under control, these are the sorts of things where we need to look at and try and rein in. I've long said that a UK Doge is the way forward. We saw that Doge in the USA has had a bit of an impact, but ultimately politics will be politics. I know that podcast guest Adrian Day and I discussed this morning. That podcast is available to paid subscribers at the moment. That'll be released to the general public later on in the week. But we spoke about this as well, that what should be done. So again, that could be reducing government spending. That could be reducing the interest rates, although that's unlikely to happen. It could happen. And ultimately, QE, quantitative easing, that's really going to be the thing that I think pushes a lot of people over the edge. Going back to the UK, yes, the debt level is about 2.7 trillion. Debt to GDP is about 96% as per stats from 2024. But if we're going to make any place better, and this could apply to governments, this could apply to local councils, this could apply to us all as individuals, we've got to be efficient and effective with our expenditure. So, yes, the debt level's high, but putting 900 million aside for the rehousing of Afghan migrants, is that a good use of funds? I would imagine most people would say it is not. The same with energy policy in the UK. We are spending billions on solar projects. We're spending billions on wind farms and the subsidising of such things. Is that a good use of funds? Probably not. You could use those billions to go into nuclear. You could improve the grid. You could drill for or frack for the natural gas that is in Lincolnshire, which is in the northeast east part of England. You could also start handing out oil licenses. So rather than the UK spending about 40 billion a year importing gas and oil from Norway, we could just send and do our licenses our own, because there's a lot of there's a lot of oil in the North Sea that we control that land. We have the ability to go and produce our own oil. Yes, we might then have to send it, I think, ironically, to Norway to have it refined, but we can do that. They are things that we can do. They're just some of the examples of government inefficiency. And I'm using the UK as an example because that's where I'm from. Of course, you can argue all day long about the USA as well. Again, is what Trump doing? Is that going to help or hinder the USA? I've seen different arguments from different people. I think with anything, there's pros and cons. But ultimately, no matter what government you're in and whatever's going on, if you try to reduce spending, that is not politically palatable. So although it is the right thing to do and it is what is needed, people will not do that. And I think the political systems in the West don't allow for it either. And what I mean by that is, again, going to the USA, Trump was elected 2024, inaugurated 2025, and already the whole thing is about the midterms in 2026. It's a very short-sighted strategy. Now, I appreciate that that's been the case for a very long time. In the UK, it used to be every 4 years. Now it's every 5 years. Again, it's similar thinking. It's let's get into power. Once you have, money, currency, and power, obviously people want more of it. It's like a drug. And of course, you then might end up doing what's best for you and not for your people. So government spending should be reduced. We could get rid of a lot of things in the UK. We could get rid of all the civil servants. We could reduce government spending. You could stop MPs from being paid. Go back to what it was like in the 1820s when being a member of parliament was free. But obviously you needed all your businesses in the background to financially support you. I think we should go back to that. You could take out the middleman. You could take out all the consultancy for national infrastructure projects, all of the above. That would be a good way to start reducing natural or debt to GDP. At the same time, you could invest, but invest wisely. And I'll go back to the example of wind farms, solar farms. there's no need to invest in them for now. They're pointless as far as I'm concerned. You should be looking at nuclear. You should actually be looking at thorium as well. You should be looking again at Lincolnshire and the natural gas. So you should start fracking that, because the more energy that you have, the better that's going to be for the country, but also the better that's going to be for the people. You should be looking at energy infrastructure as well. And again, going into the North Sea, there's a lot of oil there. We have access to that. We should start giving out more licenses, because energy independence is very, very important. That being said, let's have a quick look at platinum and palladium, because I did mention them. So I'm just going to bring up that graph now. So looking at palladium for the week, platinum for the week, sorry, platinum's now over $1,400. In the last couple of weeks, it has touched 1,400 during the week, but it's not held it. I want to see if that holds at the end of the week. If 1,400 platinum holds, then we could be going even further to the upside. Looking at palladium, palladium in the last few weeks again has gone under the radar. Unless you've been access to the newsletters, you would have known that I've been singing about palladium as well. Palladium this week is up $33 at the time of recording, up 2.8%. But last week it was up $64. Now it's 5.63%. And then the week commencing Monday, the 23rd of June, palladium rocketed up 8% on the week. That was $84. So platinum is been more spoken about. Palladium still under the radar. It could be forming a triple top at the moment. But again, this is what's happening. This is what happens when you have the global financial playbook that we currently have. And I think we can see what's coming down the road. And as I said earlier, it's not financial advice. This is why I strongly suggest people have a look at gold, have a look at silver, have a look at platinum, and ideally take a position that works for you. Just remember, please make it the physical, not just paper gold, paper silver, or anything like that. For those that are interested in mining stocks, pleased to announce that Don Durrett is going to be back on the podcast in September. We're probably going to record every 3 months or so, because the feedback we get from listeners is fantastic. And also Don is a fountain of knowledge when it comes to the miners and what's going on with the S&P as well. For those interested in miners as well, do check out the podcast and video with Adrian Day. Adrian Day manages a few funds for Peter Schiff. So if you've never heard of Adrian Day, I'm sure you've heard of Peter Schiff. Adrian Day does manage some funds for Peter. Again, that's out to paid subscribers at the moment. That will be out to the general public later on this week. A couple of other announcements to make. So a couple of bits of housekeeping. First of all, thank you to everyone that bought me a coffee for my birthday last week. I will be putting that button in a few more posts moving forwards. I appreciate that not everyone that listens wants to pay for a paid subscription. I fully appreciate and respect that. So buy me a coffee is a way to contribute to the channel without having a paid subscription. Of course, if you want to have a paid subscription, that's absolutely fantastic. What you get quite a lot of bang for your buck. And that includes about 10 newsletters a month or videos, mid-month macro, monthly wrap, the weekly commodities wrap, the major indices as well. And also you get early access to all of the podcasts, or the expert interview podcasts. You get early access to that, and then access to the full archive and any stock movements, any stock purchases that I do as well. So for the price of a membership, that's quite a lot of value, I think. I'm trying to make it as no-brainer as possible. But for the coffee aspect, if you do not want to go down the paid subscriber route, not a problem. I'll put the buy me a coffee link in the post that comes with this. And again, that is just, I thank you in advance for doing that. And again, that's just a different way of supporting the channel. If you want to, you can also become a subscriber on YouTube. I'm putting more effort into the YouTube channel as well. We're over 1,000 subscribers now, which is absolutely fantastic. And again, there's a YouTube members section as well. And that's a few dollars a month. I think it's $4 US a month. I normally try and do a macro video once a week, speak about things on there that I wouldn't necessarily speak about on Substack. So again, that's also another way, a very low cost entry if you wanted to support the channel. Looking at other projects that I'm working on, I'm going to be back with Uranium Investor, looking at how Britain can protect itself from going bankrupt. That's going to be a two-part series. Uranium Investor supplied all the questions. I am going through the audio at the moment. Some answers are audio, some are written. Again, that two-part series is going to be out next week. Also, other podcasts that are lined up for the next few weeks. I have David Materazzi from Galileo FX is going to be on the show. I think I pronounce it Jaime or Jaime. I think it's Jaime. Jaime Carrasco is going to be on next week as well. He is a massive silver bug, so we're going to be talking silver as well. And then very pleased to announce that returning guest Rick Rule is going to be back on at the end of July. Also, Bald Guy Money. If you follow Bald Guy Money on YouTube and X, we are penciled in for the end of July. And just moving my phone aside so I can look at August. I also have the Uranium Insider, Justin Hoon, booked in as well. And also Peter Krauth, who again is an expert on all things silver. So there's plenty of fantastic podcast guests lined up. And of course, at the end of the month, I'll be back with Chris Steadley from Live Score Commodity Corner to do the end of month macro, so the monthly wrap for July. So plenty going on in terms of posts and podcasts. In terms of written posts, I'll be back at the end of the week with the weekly wrap. That'll be out after the markets close on Friday. I'm going to be doing the weekly open or the indices wrap. That'll be out on Sunday. I'm in the process of tweaking that in the background as well. Apart from that, as always, this is really good fun to do, and this is just all about adding value and trying to help as many people as possible. As I like to say, it's here to protect your wealth, defend your freedom, and outsmart the system. And I'd like to think that this video content, the podcasts, and all the writings as well, they help people, yourselves and everyone else that watches and listens. I hope that all that information helps you to make decisions that work best for you and that work best for your family as well. This is thoroughly enjoyable to do, and I'm all about helping and doing that. So yes, I take great enjoyment from doing that. So just to recap, plenty of podcasts, plenty of writings, plenty of things that are being worked on as well. Weekly wrap will be with you on Friday. Podcast with Adrian Day is out already. I did speak with Adam Fired in the week. Again, we looked at Plan B. We looked at a lot of different things. Adam went in depth into gold, silver, Bitcoin, and cash. Adam's not a massive fan of cash. Adam is also, I believe, the most viewed financial expert in the world. He's had over 1 billion views across social media. So I believe that makes him number one. That's what he said anyway. Again, I'll put a link to that in the post that comes with this. And as always, as I say to people, if you're yet to become a free subscriber, please do become a free subscriber to Contrarian Capitalist. It's contrariancapitalist.substack.com. If you would like to buy a coffee as a way of a thank you and donating to the channel, then please do so. If you would like a low ticket entry, then please do become a YouTube member. Again, you can just search for the Contrarian Capitalist over on YouTube. And of course, if you would like access to all of the newsletters, early access to all of the podcasts or the expert podcasts, again, you can support the channel by becoming a paid subscriber. There is also a founding member option, which is a one-off lifetime payment as well. Again, I'll put all links to all of that into the notes that will come with this post, because it normally does all the live recording stuff and then it gets turned into a post. I'll make sure all the links are in there with that. Thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for getting in touch. As I said at the start, thank you for people showing concern about my face. I'm hoping that that explains it. Have a wonderful afternoon wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much and see you on Friday.